think, congratulations to your second Brit Award.
Thank you.
In which way you think it is an honour to get these?
Well, it's nice to have your work recognised, isn't it? I think it's nice for people. It's like, you know, someone saying well done. You know, everyone. And the, you know, Brit Awards are so kind of, especially in England, like it's a great honour to get them. So I'm really happy.
And is it some sort of do you feel more than confident afterwards, or are you usually like satisfied with yourself anyway?
No, not really. I think it's almost added pressure, you know, it's like another thing. I think I'm more scared of success and adulation than I am of not having it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I suppose I'd be like, I'm just quite like, yeah, I think you know, being dissatisfied is the thing that makes you want to create more, isn't it? So I don't think I'm ever satisfied with what I've done. I'm always thinking about the next thing.
And actually what comes with the Brit Awards is like you get lots of more like media, you're more interesting for media and things. So
yeah, that kind of thing, you know, it's just more scrutiny, isn't it? And, you know, my dad has this saying it's like more honour, more enemies, I think. And that's something that I do think about.
So it's sort of a flip side of it, isn't it?
Well, you know, it's like anything big that happens in your life, there are positive and negative sides to it.
And are you like on Twitter and Facebook and these things?
I'm not on Facebook, but I am on Twitter, but I'm just not very like, I don't really keep it up. I go through phases of doing it and then I like stop for like 2 weeks. I'm not a religious Twitterer.
And what makes it like interesting for you? What's the advantage for being on Twitter?
I think it's because it just gives you a voice outside of the media. You know, it gives you a way of getting, you know, in contact with the people who are fans of yours, or in contact with people who are interested in you. But it's just all come from you. You know, like you can like get your opinion out there without having to like go through all these different channels.
It is important like to have these things as concerns, like if you want to sort of stick to like younger people, is there any pressure like you really have to be on the internet things as they use those sort of new media?
I don't really think about it that much, to be honest. I've never really thought about, you know, how to promote something or what market I'm going for. It's not ever something that's really crossed my mind. I don't really think about things that way, I don't think.
I just think that I've just like a little Facebook account, and I'm always wondering why people are just like, oh, I bought myself a coffee. So why do I need to know that? That's strange.
I think you pick and choose what you say, you know, you don't want to like bore people. If it's something interesting and you think people maybe would like to know, like I picked out some patterns for Liberty. Liberty's like a big department store in London, and they'd asked me to come down to their archives and pick out, you know, patterns from like, and I picked out one that was from like 15th century, and that kind of thing is kind of an interesting thing that you can be like, oh, I just went and did that. I wouldn't tell people like I'm going down to the shops to get some milk. Like, I think you want to, you know, you don't want to bore people.
And actually you had your debut as a DJ at Donatella Versace.
Yes.
Tell about this.
Yeah, well, I wasn't really me DJing. I was pretending to be someone else. I was pretending to be Tabitha from the Queens of Noise, and I'd never DJed before, and I was more scared than I have been for any kind of gig. I remember running around trying to burn CDs, and I couldn't find any blank CDs in the whole of Milan, and I was just terrified. But Jay-Z and Beyonce were there. It's pretty cool. It all went off pretty smoothly, actually, but that was down to my DJing partner, Mairead, rather than me.
But it's always like you have sort of a big responsibility in a way. I mean, you have to keep the party rolling.
Yeah, and you want to make sure you don't pick a dud, you know.
And just have to look. Do you think as actually like singers as you are, not only because of the Brit Awards, but they get sort of role models quite quick? Do you think you could be sort of a good role model for younger people or girls?
I would be scared to think of myself as a role model, you know. I think I'm still trying to figure out what kind of person I am without people kind of trying to aspire to be me, you know. I mean, I spend half of the time wishing I wasn't myself. You're like, oh, I said something so stupid, or I did that, and that sort of sense of awkwardness is still with me, I think. And so I think it would be hard for me. I mean, I'd like to say, you know, I think people should follow their own paths, you know. I think I'm still trying to figure out, you know, what kind of person I am, I think.
I think it's sort of strange in a way. I wouldn't like to be in like sort of your position. I think I wouldn't even like to give any interviews actually, because I'm not really sure why people should listen to me.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it, you know. I've got kind of... It's funny because you can't, like, I'm like 23, I think I'm still growing into my own skin, you know. It's that period when you go from being a teenager and you're all the things that you kind of thought about, that you're kind of what your moral like and what your ideals were when you're a teenager, they all shift when you're an adult because things happen to you and your life changes, and so you're still kind of coming to terms with the person you are, not the person that you thought you were going to be. So it would be very hard for me to give anyone advice. I would like people to give me advice.
And do you think you've got lots of pressure concerning sort of a perfect body in a way? Because I think usually you see like yourself on pictures from red carpet or whatever, and so it's always with girls like, oh, their hair growing where they shouldn't grow, or do I have like a good body? Do you feel like the pressure for perfect body in a way?
Not really. I mean, I don't feel like, I have usually about 1 week of every month I have like, oh, I feel awful, I don't want to go be photographed by anyone, and I just want to lie down and sleep in a dark room. Like, I think that I don't think and you know, you are under more scrutiny on the red carpet, and you kind of, but sometimes, you know, I really don't feel like up for it, and I don't want anyone to take my photograph because, you know, I think every woman goes through that phase, like, once in a while. But I don't think I've felt pressure to, like, conform to an ideal, because I don't know what the ideal is. Do you know what I mean? I don't feel like there is one. I think everyone has attributes, you know, that are what, you know, what they're made of, and they should make the best of them.
And do you think there is like a sort of a pressure for society concerning like I have to be size 0? I mean, is that like, do you feel the pressure for like the English whatever society for girls or something like that?
I think we've actually come on like we've come to like a sort of, I think there's still a lot of scrutiny in the media about like how much people weigh or how thin they are, but I think the tides are turning, you know. It's no longer acceptable to pressure people into being really thin. I think things are kind of going the other way. It's more important now for people to be healthy and to be happy. So I don't think there's a lot of pressure on people to be like skinny anymore. I think there's actually more scrutiny on people who are too skinny, and I think that's really harsh too. I think any kind of like, it's your own body, and I do think that is like a really harsh aspect of the media, that they kind of pick apart people's size no matter whether they're thin or bigger. That's not a very attractive side of the media, I don't think.
And actually, just another topic, after the like Haiti earthquake, lots of musicians came up to do any like charity things. Is there any charity you do, or any like social or political engagement in a way?
Yeah, I've done some gigs for the Teenage Cancer Trust, which is and we've also done this thing where on the guest list, if you put people on the guest list, they, instead of paying the full price for a ticket, but they don't get in for free, they have to give £5, and that goes to the Teenage Cancer Trust as well. And I just did something for the Make-A-Wish Foundation, which is sick children get to, like, you know, choose a wish that they'd like to have fulfilled. And I met a really beautiful, like, little girl who wanted to spend some time with me and interview me, and it was really amazing to spend time with her actually. And she's been doing music therapy, so like sang her some songs, and like her parents were there, and it was really nice to just spend some time with her and her family. So, and the single that I released with Dizzy Rascal after the Brits, well, I mean, they released it, but all of that money where it goes to the Brits Trust. So there's like quite a few things that I take part in, yeah.
And do you have any like special relation to those teenage cancer things? Is there anyone like that you know, for example, that has sort of cancer? Or is that just like how did you make up your mind for that one? I mean, you could have done like something else. Why is that a topic for you?
Because a close friend of the family, who was a young girl who died of cancer when she was 15. So it's because, and I mean, it's a subject that I think is close to my heart and close to to my family.
And do you know what they take the money for? Is it like for hospitals or for whatever?
Well, it's basically just to so that teenagers can have separate wards in hospitals, so that they're not like with the kids, they're not with the grown-ups, they have their own ward with televisions and nice things for them, and so it's like being you're surrounded by other teenagers, you're not kind of with the kids or with the adults, I think, to make it a nicer environment for teenagers.
Which is quite good, I think, of course, just because when you're in the hospital and you've got like no one that really is sort of your peer group or whatever, it's quite a good thing then. And do you get lots of like letters where people ask you to do any charity things, or how is it?
I do. I get. I try and do as much as I can. I think.
Quite a good thing.
Yeah.
And I think the thing with the guest list is quite funny, as we did this in Hamburg once, but actually I was on the guest list and I was just like, oh, what should I pay for?
Yeah.
So people wonder, don't they?
Yeah.
And I think it's quite a good idea, actually.
Yeah, and we gave, I think, we took a percentage from, most of the tours to give to Haiti. We took a percentage of the profit from the tour and gave that to Haiti as well. So we try and do like what we can.
Quite good. And how is it? Is the band that you're playing with, the Machine? Do you always play with them? Or?
Yeah, I mean, when it started off, it was quite a flexible thing because I didn't, have an actual guitarist. I'd have to get friends like, Dev and Kid Harpoon to come play with me. But over time, once the album was finished, it was easier to get a set band because I had like a set sound. Before, the sound was like pretty unsure, but now I do have a set band, yeah.
And I think what was quite funny, I read that you can better write your lyrics when you're a bit drunk, which is, I think, quite funny, as we do this usually as well, like when we have to edit our things. I don't have any idea for the text, I just have like 2 glasses of red wine. Like,
yeah, I've written like songs to totally sober and in the studio, but sometimes I think it's good to have like a drink and it almost opens up your head a bit, like, and sometimes that can be a terrible thing, but I think if you're putting it in a creative way, it stops your filter, it kind of lets things out easier. But I wouldn't advise it.
And what about the hangover afterwards? Can you write then as well? Or you just
yeah.
I feel pity for myself actually the whole day.
I think like sometimes you can use a hangover really well because you're in a kind of quite an odd, surreal state of mind. So I think hangovers can be kind of horrible and magical, I think.
And do you think when people are growing up like teenagers, do you think it's quite important for them to make those experiences as well, like to really develop themselves in a way, like you really have to, do you think it's important that they have to go that they have to go like through the dark parts in a way as well?
I don't know, everyone has their own way of growing up, don't they, and you have to make your own choices, I think, and just try and stick to what you think is right. But I don't think you should be, if you make mistakes, it's part of that. It's part of growing up, and I don't think you shouldn't hold on to regrets, especially not for mistakes you've made when you were a teenager, because again, it's all about, you have to make those mistakes to learn. Do you know what I mean?
And would you agree, just about 2 weeks ago I met a band from Manchester who's like a newcomer band, or that start releasing their things. who are just a bit afraid of sort of the British press, as they say, okay, they build people up, but it's more like to see them fall.
Who was the band?
It's May 68.
I haven't heard of
them.
them.
Manchester band, they're just starting to.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a sense of like eat your own among the British press, but I think it's about the work. I think if you create, you know, the press might turn against you, but if you're creating something that people are, you know, people like and people feel something from, then you just shouldn't read it anyway. I think as long as it's about the work and it's about the music, and it's like if there's like people out there who want to listen to it, then sort of what the press say, it's not as important as that, I think.
And though you think you shouldn't read that, do your parents read that regularly?
Oh, occasionally I'll come home and my mum's like got clippings, like she collects all my clippings, and I'll be like, Mum, this is a bad review. Like, why are you leaving this around the house? Cheers. Well, it's fine. I really just try not to read it.
And is there anything you want to add, actually? Because I think I'm done, nearly. Okay. Anything that is important for you to let us know?
Nothing. I'm excited about making the second album, and I'm really happy to be in Berlin because I love Berlin.
And it's quite funny because there are so many musicians coming to Berlin regularly, like from all over the world.
Yeah.
I feel just like sort of a certain vibe.
I think Berlin's just got a great atmosphere, and got great vintage shops, and I really haven't spent enough time here. I really want to get to know the place more.
And how do you manage to write the songs then in between the tour and things?
I take like 2-week blocks where I'm just writing, not travelling. I think that's important. You want to keep writing, you know, you don't want to just suddenly stop. I always worry that I'll forget how to do it, so I just keep going.
And do you have any idea when you will be done with the second album, like next year or
whatever? Next year, I think, probably.